The Australian-born driver SVG dominates NASCAR in Mexico City. Let's break down NASCAR's first international race since the 1950s. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about NASCAR in Mexico City. Shane Van Gisbergen, the Australian-born driver, wins NASCAR's first international race in a long time, since the 1950s in Canada, in Mexico City. A fantastic race. Thought it was a great road course. We'll talk a little bit about that. Should NASCAR continue to go to this racetrack? We'll talk a little bit about the point standings, how the playoff grid adds up now that Shane Van Gisbergen has got that big win, the dominating performance he put on today. We'll talk about the top 10. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Carson Osvaldo clash again, and then of course Kyle Larson caught up in a big crash on lap 7. Let's break down everything that just took place in the 16th race of the NASCAR Cup Series season. Certainly exciting. We'll go ahead and get into it. In the man of the hour, the big story, Shane Van Gisbergen, the Australian-born driver, gets his second career win, first in Chicago in 2023. That was the inaugural Chicago win. He was obviously going to be favored going into this race. Big deal for SVG. Let's just talk about how talented he is at this type of racetrack. A lot of raw talent by SVG, right? It seems like we go to these races and the rest of the field, at least when we went to Chicago the first time, or today in Mexico City, everyone else trying to figure out how can we get the best we can? How can we get as close to SVG as we can? Because the way that he's able to drive a race car, set a race car up at these type of racetracks is just something that is so different, especially an inaugural race at a racetrack, right? You know, when you look at his 2 wins, first race at the Chicago street course, the first street race ever in the rain. That's such an advantage for him because he just knows how to do it. Has so much natural talent, has so much experience on these road courses and sports cars. That's why SVG is able to capitalize, get these big margin of victory, huge margin of victory today. That was the biggest margin of victory in a NASCAR Cup Series race in the next-gen era so far, over 15 seconds. And then, of course, it's the biggest NASCAR Cup Series margin of victory since 2009 at Texas. If you want to look at the biggest margin of victory on a road course, it's the best margin of victory since 1979 at Riverside, California. So certainly a absolutely dominant performance by SVG, and I don't want that to go overshadowed. Did a great job today, did everything right, was able to get around that racetrack, maneuver around that racetrack perfectly, and the team executed as well, and things fell their way. Great win for SVG, shoots from 33rd on the playoff grid to top 10, now 10th on the playoff grid, locked into the NASCAR playoffs. We knew that was a possibility. We knew with the amount of road courses on the schedule, we still got Sonoma coming up. We got Watkins Glen. We got the Chicago Street course that he's won before. We had this race, an inaugural road course. We had a road course in Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas a few weeks ago. We knew very realistically that SVG could win one of these races and punch his ticket into the playoffs. I've been talking about it all year. Even though he's outside the top 30 in points, didn't even make the in-season tournament, it's still very realistic that SVG could win one of these road course races. Almost expected that he would win one of these. You know, he's come close once again. He was close last year at Watkins Glen. If you remember that, got beat by Chris Buescher in the closing laps. On the final lap, got passed in that race. So almost beat a Cup Series regular. It's so difficult to win these NASCAR Cup Series races. You have to appreciate when somebody who's not that great on ovals yet, getting better on the ovals, can come over to a road course and win like that with such a margin of victory. And once again, SVG's not done. Getting better on the ovals. We'll see what he can do when he gets into the postseason. I think it's going to be tough for him to get out the first round, but not impossible. And then, of course, you do have that Charlotte road course, which I think will be more difficult for him to win on, just considering that the other drivers have more experience at that racetrack. Talk a little bit about Ty Gibbs. He was the only driver, I think, all day long that was really up to par with SVG. I think SVG was going to probably beat him, but the 54 car was the next best thing, right? The 54 car was doing a great job. Ultimately did not finish in the top 10, got caught on the wrong side of strategy. The 77 car spun. Rough day for Carson Osvaldo. Made the highlight reels, but not for any good reason. When that caution came out midway through the pit cycle, that caused Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs had not pitted yet, forcing him to come down pit road under caution, losing some track position. He was never able to recover. Actually, lost a few spots after that. Not entirely sure what that was, but Ty Gibbs, the next closest thing to winning this NASCAR, the only guy that could really push SVG all day long. Let's go through the top 10, right? We had SVG obviously getting the win. Big win for him. Punching him in the playoffs. Christopher Bell, nice second place finish today. He was obviously probably the third best car all day long. Chase Elliott trying to get on the right side of strategy. It didn't quite fall his way, but had a lot of speed today. Finished third. Chase Elliott's a bit frustrating, right? Because we've talked about for years how he's third most road course race wins in NASCAR ever. And then, of course, you go to the next-gen car where he was on, what was he on before the next-gen car? Multiple road course wins in a row. Won at Road America that year, I know. And it was a shame that Chase Elliott has not been able to win on a road course since, just to keep building up that storyline. He's trying to catch Jeff Gordon for most road course wins. I believe that's 9. Tony Stewart's 8. Chase Elliott's third at 7th, trying to get there, and he certainly can. Elliott's still good on road courses. I know he has not won a road course race in the next-gen era, but he's been close. We can take some results. We can go to these Watkins Glen races, these Sonoma races. We can go to today, finishing in the top 10. Chase Elliott very close to winning on these road courses. This is certainly still very realistic that Chase Elliott could get a win moving forward at one of these road courses, I think, because I think he's still one of the most talented drivers on road courses. It just has not added up the last couple of seasons. Obviously missed some time in between. We'll see if Elliott can get back to victory lane at any racetrack, but certainly to build that storyline up. I want to see Chase Elliott winning these road course races. Can he pass and beat Jeff Gordon's record? We'll see moving forward. It's something to continue to watch out for in the future years. And of course, once again, multiple more road course races coming up this year. I don't think Elliott's ever won at Sonoma, so a bit of a storyline to watch out for that. Alex Bowman, a nice 4th place finish, suffering some injuries. Couldn't walk on Wednesday, apparently. Had to come down over south of the border. It was certainly frustrating. That big wreck last week at Michigan. Glad to see that he's okay. I'm glad to see that he's able to drive a race car and get out of a race car. It's certainly a good sight, but hopefully the soreness, and he'll feel a lot better going into next week's race at Pocono. We'll have to continue to watch Alex Bowman. A nice 4th place finish today when we look at the playoff points. Michael McDowell, 5th. Once again, another one of those road course drivers that we've seen. He won at a road course in 2023, I believe, at the Indianapolis road course. So certainly something to look out for there. And then, of course, John Hunter Nemechek. Once again, those Legacy Motor Club Toyotas. We've been talking about it for a couple of years now. They've been falling off. When they switched over to Toyota, it was an uphill battle. They're finally showing more speed. Certainly nothing close to winning speed, but John Hunter Nemechek, multiple top 10s this year, starting in Daytona, 2 weeks in a row to start out the year. Solid season going for John Hunter Nemechek compared to the previous few years. Once again, this isn't a fantastic year, but the fact that he's even top 25 in points, I think, is a good thing considering years past for John Hunter Nemechek. Want to continue to watch him moving forward. Can he continue to get these top 10s at these variety of racetracks, too? Every different type of track he's been getting top 10s. Chase Briscoe, 19 car, Joe Gibbs Toyota. Want to continue to follow him his first year at JGR. Having a solid season, another top 10 day today after having some issues throughout the entirety of the race. Cole Custer, nice finish for him. The first time he's got a good finish that I can remember this season. So certainly Cole Custer will take that top 10 and 8th place finish. William Byron trying to come back to win, get his first race win since the Daytona 500, but wasn't able to do it today. Showed a little bit more. So I think it was a faster race car than 9th place. Not sure exactly what happened at the end, but certainly looked like he was a top 5 car for a bit of the day, at least the first half of the race. Maybe faded a little bit with weather conditions, but finished 9th. Chris Buescher, the 17 RFK Ford, finishing in the 10th position today. And that rounds out your top 10. Certainly interesting there. Talk a little bit about Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Carson Osavar. They got into it on the racetrack again. Osavar was, once again, made the highlight reels today for all the bad reasons. You see here, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. goes up to Osavar following the race on pit road. Bends, puts his head into the window. Very frustrated. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., we've seen where he's a fiery guy. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does not like to get pushed around. We saw that a year ago with Kyle Busch at the All-Star race. We've seen it in other comments Ricky's made against drivers that have, sort of ruffled his feathers. We'll see what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does moving forward. I don't know if this will continue to boil over. It seems like it's just a lot of frustration from two drivers that continue to clash. We'll see what happens with these two moving forward. I don't have any more comments. Don't really have the entire context of what happened here, so not sure if this will continue, but we'll continue to watch it moving forward. Should be exciting to watch as both of these drivers are not in the playoffs now, but trying to make it in. So we'll continue to watch that moving forward, and that's going to add more pressure to this bit of a rivalry that we're starting to see mid-pack. It will be something to watch out for the next few weeks. Do you want to talk about the lap 7 crash? Because you see here Kyle Busch, I don't think he got hit by Zane Smith behind him. Can't exactly tell from this camera angle. Looks like both of them got squirrely. Kyle Busch, this is once again when they put the wet weather tires on, hit the brakes, spun, collected multiple other cars. You see the most big names that were involved in this crash. You see Kyle Larson involved. Basically takes Kyle Larson out of this race for a potential win. Kyle Busch obviously finishes last today trying to make the playoffs. Certainly not good for him. Kyle Larson actually goes back out on the racetrack later on after multiple laps down. Maybe missed over half the race. Cliff Daniels, this is why I love Cliff Daniels, did not want to give up because every point matters, and he was able to find a way to run out there, run qualifying laps, get the fastest lap. So they probably took away a little bit of handling, doing anything they could to get speed out of that race car to get the fastest lap. We knew that could happen when they put in the new rule that you get a point for the fastest lap, and it happened today. Kyle Larson able to get an extra point today just from running the fastest lap, and I think that just shows, what this team is about. This team's not going to give up no matter the circumstance, even if they have a bad day. Want to keep watching that moving forward. Certainly one of the championship favorites right now. With that, let's talk a little bit about the point standings. So first off, a quick glance at the regular season points, not to overdo this. On the far left side, you see 15, 10, and 8. That's just how many points you would get if you finished in that position as bonus points per round in the playoffs. That's why it's a big deal. You could get up, if William Byron wins the regular season title, we could get up to 45 bonus points if he makes it through each round of the playoffs, added to his stage points and win playoff points. Certainly that's why that's important. So you have William Byron obviously continuing to lead the regular season points, and it's a bit of a gap now, especially with Kyle Larson having a rough couple of weeks. It's a bit of a gap, a 67-point gap, but certainly not over at all. But once again, each position matters. You see a few drivers that haven't won, Elliott, Reddick, even Bubba Wallace in the top 10. Certainly we'll have to keep an eye out for that going through the regular season. Here it is, the playoff grid. 16 of the 26 races complete. You now have 10 different winners, 16 races, 10 different winners. So kind of a lot. I think this is certainly what we've kind of been on par with for the next-gen car. There was a little bit more in 2022, less in 2023, but certainly this year, 10 winners through 16 races. It looks like if I could point to a couple other guys that could win a race, I see Elliott, I see Reddick. It looks like they're showing a lot of speed. We'll have to continue to watch them moving forward. But when I look at Elliott and I look at Tyler Reddick, outside of those guys in gold, they have such a cushion and they've had so much speed this entire year, unless something dramatic happens, unless I see a huge drop-off in speed or a disaster happens for those two teams. I see Elliott and Tyler Reddick making the NASCAR playoffs without too much stress when we get to Daytona later this summer. So we'll continue to watch them, and I do think both of them will be locked into the playoffs. It gets a little closer with Bubba Wallace, Briscoe, Bowman, and Buescher. Once again, nice point stays for these guys to get above the cut line, but you still want to be 15th because we have Daytona. We have strategic racetracks like Pocono. Those road courses coming up. Brad Keselowski could potentially get a race win. Kyle Busch could potentially get a race win. Certainly, those things are on everyone's mind. Want to keep an eye on that moving forward. Unfortunately, Ryan Preece, after winning the first stage today, falls below the playoff cut line. Michael McDowell kind of closes in a little bit, 43 out. AJ Allmendinger with being involved in that same wreck Kyle Busch was in, and Kyle Busch obviously finishing last, now 45 and 50 points out. So a frustrating day for both of those drivers. I thought it was a solid NASCAR race. Should NASCAR continue to come to this racetrack, I wouldn't be against it. I think it would be more, we'd have to look into more the logistics of how expensive it is to get here, how difficult it is for the teams to get south of the border, to cross the border. It certainly looked like there were some concerns throughout the week, getting everyone there, getting the haulers there, getting all personnel there. Well, actually, the haulers seemed to get there pretty smoothly. It was getting the other personnel there. Certainly interesting. I was a bit disappointed by the lack of, or the amount of empty grandstands at the racetrack. That was a little disappointing to me. I was expecting maybe more of a sellout. I was expecting this to be a really big event, big city like Mexico City, one of the biggest cities in the world. NASCAR Cup Series, putting a lot of effort to get down there. I was a little disappointed to see the amount of empty seats that I saw, but I still think, I don't want to discredit the fans that went, because I think it was still a big crowd that went. This track holds 110,000 seats, but I think I was expecting all of those to be mostly full. It wasn't. Still a big deal. It had the big event feel, but we'll see what NASCAR does moving forward. Once again, if for just a fan watching on TV, I thought the racetrack was great. I thought it was a very fun race, a mechanical racetrack, and a pretty good racetrack as a fan to watch on TV. Even though SVG won pretty big, I still think it was a good racetrack, a good race. It showed a lot of driver talent. If they don't go back, it won't entirely bother me. If they do go back, certainly that would be exciting as well. Another international race. Those fans in Mexico did come out. I do think they deserve to see another race in their hometown, in their home country. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens moving forward. But once again, not really too for or too against going back to Mexico City as it stands right now. I certainly think international racing is something NASCAR will continue to explore. But that's really it. All there is to talk about. Poconos next week, one of those strategic racetracks, should be exciting. Week number 17 on the NASCAR schedule. And of course, that's it. All there's to talk about. And of course, like and subscribe if you like the video. Please give it a like. Please give me a follow if you want to see more content. And of course, let's get rowdy.